First, the room a little busier today. We've got our guests in from Garo, Japan, the sister city, for their annual visit. I always love having them here and getting to go into council chambers and up on the 7th floor. And every now and then the Blue Angels coincide with our schedule. So I never confirm or deny whether we schedule it just for this, but hopefully, maybe I didn't check the practice schedule. They'll be out there practicing when we're up there visiting. So of course, welcome, and we're glad to have you here and get to spend some time with you. Secondly, a huge congratulations to Keyla Richardson on American Idol last night. If you didn't watch it, I joked, any Pensacolian who hasn't seen that, it was very, very impressive, and I hope everybody's out voting for her. Although she did so well, she may not need many votes. I think the rest of the United States will be taking care of that. But make sure you get out the vote for her, and we're a huge congratulations to her, and very excited to see where this goes. I certainly feel like if you watch what you saw last night, that she can win this thing. So we're very excited. On the Baptist public meetings, we had our first sidewalk talk this morning. We had 5 residents meet on site in the parking lot on the Avery Street side of campus. We'll continue to do that every other month, which has coincided with the alternating month having a public forum. So for April, there'll be a public forum April 16th at 5:30 at the Fricker Center. Again, that's the second one of those to be able to narrate exactly what's going on and to be able to answer any questions that residents may have. Obviously, media is welcome there as well. So we have 14 total meetings between now and June of 2027 to allow the community to get updates and progress at the site. So I think we're providing that schedule to you guys, to the media if we haven't already. And that is with city staff, Jacobs Engineering, and of course the other project experts. That will probably alternate throughout those 14 14 meetings, just based on what's happening on site at the time. So we'll get that full schedule to you, and certainly we'd love for you to share that with your audiences. Last week, we were able to get the equipment and furnishings that were left behind at the site to repurpose to about a half a dozen local nonprofits. So everything from artwork to furniture, meals, trays, office supplies, we're able to find a good home. And we're grateful to United Way of West Florida helping coordinate that. And I'm grateful to Amy Miller in our office, who was running point to make that happen. So be able to help provide to local nonprofits here with things that were ultimately left behind that would have been lost in a demolition otherwise. Certainly he's trying to meet the mission of helping our community. So we are hopeful that this week the council will approve declaring the 5 additional properties for disposition. That's always confusing because we're really talking about 2 buildings. The 3rd building will be proposed this week we're finalizing the agreement to donate one of the buildings to community health, and but looking to have those other 2 buildings disposed of. There is no direct plan. I met with Councilman Wiggins yesterday, who will, of course, he and I will be in lockstep on what the plans of those other 2 buildings would be. And as a reminder to the public as well, that we've shared with council members, is when we request disposition, whether we donate, whether we sell at a discount, any action taken on those 2 buildings would still have to come back for council approval. So, but it's hard to move the ball forward with these without them being formally disposed of, because if we're going to negotiate or discuss any potential options with suitors that may want the buildings for purchase or for donation, I certainly want to be able to do that in good faith, that we have the clearance to be able to do so. So I'm hopeful that we can get those buildings disposed of, and I know that Councilman Baird suggested that during the workshop about these buildings, that we go ahead and do that. So we'll see how that goes. The airport update. Pensacola was not on the list of 17 airports on the hot list issued this weekend, denoting extended delays as a result of TSA staffing. However, of course, connection airports like Atlanta, Chicago, Houston, and others are on the list. So we encourage all travelers to check with their airlines about flight times. Those can have a domino effect, not necessarily on our TSA screening, but if you start to see more frequent delays at the airport, certainly those delays can be caused by larger airports in larger cities getting delayed, getting off of their gate and into ours. And so just from a TSA standpoint and from a carrier delay standpoint, just make sure you're looking out for that. Also, our airport director, Matt Coughlin, notes that while our TSA queue has been full, local TSA staff members have been showing up to work without pay, which is a credit to their dedication. And I'm obviously very appreciative. I hope our citizens are very appreciative of that. We also shared that Mana Food Pantries has been in touch and opened their facility to TSA workers locally if they need some help in this time where they're working without paychecks. So we've also seen an uptick in donated gift cards to TSA employees. We've had some internal conversations about making that easier and more accessible for citizens to be able to help during this time if they so choose. And we don't expect to be an airport where any ICE staffing will be deployed. The Fricker Center, we're taking to council this week the award of the contract to begin the much-needed renovations to the Fricker Center. Green Simmons is the contractor for that, and the funding comes from two pots of money: the Multipurpose Community Facility Grant and a CDBG DR grant, as well as some local option sales tax funds. And this is another example as that conversation will start to elevate in the coming months. How lost dollars are reinvested back into our community. So some of those local option sales tax dollars are helping get Fricker Center done. The after school and senior programs will continue in the gym through the end of the school year, and then programming will have to stop obviously while construction is complete. And the center will close after the school year and it will reopen in June of 2027. We do have a meeting scheduled with our Public Works Department and Engineering Department with FDOT to further discuss 14th and Gregory. We had traded some feedback back and forth. They had done an assessment. We had given our response to that assessment, and we feel from a expediency standpoint to see something happen probably quicker than going report and response back and forth, that we just try to get something done quicker. That we have some urgency to solve issues there, and FDOT very open to that. And so we're looking at some dates in mid-April to talk about strategies to mitigate, whether that be on Gregory itself or on 14th Avenue or the surrounding area. So more to come there. The Palafox update, just giving you some percentages as I have the last few weeks. Stormwater infrastructure, 80% complete, still on track to be done April 3rd. Curb and gutter install, 80% complete, on track for April 24th. Irrigation is 90% complete, almost done, and that'll be done April 10th. And then the paver installation is still about halfway done and will be complete by May 8th. The last two things, the Mayor's Neighborhood Cleanup is March 28th in the area north of East Hill, along with some surrounding neighborhoods. And again, make sure you check out our website. Everybody gets a mailer on this as well. But you can go to our website if you're not sure if your street is included. But again, that will be this weekend. And lastly, also ending soon is the Resident Satisfaction Survey. Closes March 31st that we do with the Haas Center at UWF for city residents only. And certainly helps us shape priorities and make sure that that we're delivering the services that people expect. So. Sorry, I lied to you. Last thing, sailing events. Had two big sailing events this past weekend into this week. Of course, the GL52 American Fleet was here this past weekend for their GL52 Southern Series Regatta, and they're coming back on April 9th and 12th to have another one. And then we had the great event at American Magic yesterday to kick off the WASZP series, and they've been here. It'll be for 2 full weeks from people all over the world. I was meeting folks from New Zealand and Australia coming up and saying hello and how much they love Pensacola. So really is that it's these types of benefits of not only putting ourselves on the map and sailing, but these are all people that are going to spend 2 weeks in our community, and they're going to eat at our restaurants, and they're going to support our local small businesses. And so this is that reverberating impact of economic development, to be able to have all of these guests here enjoying our city and going back and telling their friends to continue to see that grow. So that is everything I've got, and happy to take your questions.
Mayor,
Yes.
on the airport, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy said yesterday on CNBC that smaller airports may have to be shut down if this partial government shutdown goes on. What would that mean for Pensacola if the TSA couldn't operate?
I mean, Well, first, let me address, we have been given no notification, no warning, nothing has hit our desk at this point that that's a possibility. So before I react and that be taken out of context as if that is imminent, we have, as of this point, we have been given zero indication. Things change, but always. But we've been given zero indication at this point that that's a possibility. So I don't want anybody to feel like that is imminent. That being said, an airport closure for any reason, whether it's an emergency, whether it's a threat, whether it's anything else, is obviously devastating to residents using the airport, visitors coming in, to our local small businesses that rely on people using our airport and being able to get here conveniently to help support. So no doubt about it, in any scenario, some type of forced closure of the airport would be a significant event that would have a negative impact. But again, I reiterate, we have not at this point been given any indication that we're on any kind of list or that we're under any consideration to be closed by the federal government.
How many TSA employees are at the airport?
Let us get you an exact number. Gosh, I don't know. When Dustin and I brought something to them before, I don't remember. Do you remember the total number they had counted for? I mean, dozens. It's not 8, or 10. Obviously, it's you're working from 4 a.m. to probably 7 p.m. every day. So we'll get you an exact number, but
Also, I guess, do you know, are y'all seeing like more workers have to call out stuff as they're going without?
Same thing. City Hall, we don't have the same intensity of ear to the ground if we're starting to see more of that. I was coming home on Sunday. It was packed in there, no doubt. I'd be interested to see what the Sunday numbers were. I know the previous Sunday was the record day for 2026. But I think that was probably a combination of flights plus some of those delays that we saw happening caused by some of the major airport issues. But I don't have any indication, and only anecdotal. But again, we haven't been on the hot list yet, and so that clearly says if that's happening, it might be an independent scenario, a one-off or something like that, but not at scale where it's caused us any concerns yet. But again, this is a fast-moving thing, and that's why we continue to warn our travelers using our airport to continue to pay attention to the news, their carriers. I think it's very prudent to be getting here a little bit earlier than you might normally be used to at our airport, and follow those guidelines, because that could change tomorrow, as we've seen in larger airports around the country. So we do have a great team here, and again, ever since we had that major issue a couple years back now, that it has been night and day in terms of leadership that's on site here, the oversight of making sure that we're staffed correctly, actually getting us staffed correctly. We were, I think, 35% less than we were supposed to be given our passenger traffic when that was kind of uncovered. And so ever since then, it's been a great relationship with TSA. They've been very responsive to any issue that we have. So we hope that continues.
Actually, you kind of answered my one question about, you kind of answered it too, the ICE agents, you don't think they're going to be utilized?
Yeah, we've been given no indication of that at this time.
So my other question is, there are 5 lots listed on Thursday's council agenda connected with the Baptist property being discussed as surplus to sell. At a time where we're efforting affordable housing, does this deposition and its potential buyers have a requirement they could build affordable housing? And if not, why put the property into the community land trust pool?
Yeah, so again, the 5 properties, to clearly delineate, this has nothing to do with the original 38 acres of donation from Baptist. This was born from, once the county decided to not contribute to the project, we went back to Baptist Hospital and said, okay, well, now we have a $2 million delta. How do we meet in the middle? And that shouldn't just be on the city taxpayer, since the county didn't do what they said they would do. This is how we adjust. So these are 6 parcels legally speaking from a survey standpoint, but they're really 3 buildings. And again, one building is going to community health to provide low-cost healthcare services. I think that's a pretty consensus need there. And so the other 5 parcels in reality are 2 buildings. They're both commercial buildings. So this would not be suitable for housing. That being said, we did receive, in partnership with Commissioner May, we received 14 lots of the many that the county had that had been in the city limits. And we have started initial conversations. I am interested in providing those scattered sites to the Community Land Trust. They were successful with the 3 scattered sites that the city had been on for years, well before I'd gotten here. And the city was when I took office, we were taking that on our own to try to build it ourselves, to try to contract it ourselves, sell it ourselves. And I don't know that that's the optimal use of government. And I think it's finding a mechanism to be able to get those, out and deployed. So working with Commissioner May, we were able to get those 14 lots. And now that kind of the pilot project worked, that the E Street, 2300 West Jackson, and the Spring Street house that we just had a mover close on it and move in to the first permanently affordable house in the city, that we try that again in partnership, maybe with the home builders again. So that's what we're looking into in terms of that, using that mechanism that you suggest, but it wouldn't be an appropriate use at the 5 lots that we're talking about at Baptist that are on the northeast of the original donation agreement.
And then I just had a question about that reduction workshop on Monday.
Yeah.
Is there anything substantial that came out of the meeting that you could see coming forth to council?
Yeah, so I think number one, there's agreement to try to mirror the Escambia County's code enforcement that frankly is better than ours. It's more updated than ours. It gives the government better teeth. We run into constant scenarios, as I mentioned with our council members, with liens that put the government in a picking winners and losers subjective situation that, as we always say, 80% of failure is ambiguity. And I think we've got a lot of ambiguity within our policy. So a lot of these things are long-standing. For example, the county's mechanism that says if you have code enforcement fines, we have the ability to convey them to other property you own. Right now, the city does not have that ability. So that means what ends up happening is someone will build up a bunch of code enforcement fines, sell off the property, whether the buyer knows it or not, depending on if they paid cash or if they become aware of it or do a proper title search. Then they get left holding the bag. Well, they come to the city and say, I didn't know that there was $25,000 in liens while the seller's long gone, and we have no legal authority to be able to move that to the violator. The county does. And so that's a much more effective tool to make sure that there's clarity. And what you see is we end up having to just subjectively decide with somebody's application of a lien forgiveness whether we think it's pertinent or not. And so I think the county's policy mirroring that as close as possible. It is 2 different forms of government, so there's a couple things that'll have to be tweaked. But migrating our policy to the county's policy, I think not only is a better policy for the city, but also creates some uniformity. There's lots of property owners in this county that own property in the city and the county. Having some uniformity as it pertains to all the rules with lien reductions, I think would be a good thing. So it sounds like we got some other things to hack through, like, will, in this form of government compared to the county, will the administration have some ability to do its own lien reductions up to a certain dollar amount? As I mentioned to them, listen, I got enough controversial decisions to make here. If they want to make all the controversial decisions on who gets a lien release and who doesn't, that's perfectly fine. So we aren't fighting for that, but I will say we do have liens that are $6, for example, and we probably don't want to spend $5,000 in staff, labor, and time getting a council agenda item ready for a $500 lien request. So there's probably some efficiencies that we would need to go through, whether that and what that magic number is. If the administration has the ability to forgive up to $10,000, up to $25,000, up to $50,000, whatever, I'm certainly open to that conversation as we work through that with council. So I think we are well on our way to being in a better place with being able to make sure that people do what they say they're going to do, especially these commercial properties. And as I always point out, the largest single lien we have out of the 339 in the city right now is at 1750 North Palafox for $250,000. And the idea of out-of-state people leaving blight in the middle of our neighborhoods shouldn't be acceptable, and it's got to be painful enough to make a change. So I'm looking forward to that conversation, and I think outside of some very small details, I think that the council and the administration are pretty well aligned on that.
On that, would the liens be able to, say a property owner owns property in the city and the county, would the lien be able to attach to?
Ooh, that's a good question. That's something outside of my amateur lawyer degree. But I don't know if it can convey that way. Certainly, it can city to city. I hope so. If I had my way, it would. But I could see where that could have some issues. And so, but I think the big one really being that can convey, also putting language in that of the violator themselves can't even apply for lien forgiveness. And I shared this with council. Most of the calls I get, sometimes, and here's a perfect example of how it puts a city in a bind. We'll have a developer, really, whether it's a house flipper or someone call and say, well, I'm thinking about buying Jim's house that has $30,000 in code enforcement fines. It's blighted, it's boarded up. But if I buy it, will you forgive it so then I can turn around and flip it? Well, on one hand, we don't want blighted homes in our neighborhoods negatively affecting our neighbors, right? But on the other side, we also the taxpayer is not profit mitigation for someone to say, well, can I make $30,000 more on this house flip because I can get the city to. So you see, it puts us in a tough spot, is to say, well, yes, we want to get rid of blight, but we also have a lot of code enforcement people who spend a lot of time and energy going and enforcing these rules. What message are we sending to our policies, to our employees when we say, hey, don't worry about the 2 years you spent, that property owner yelling at you and threatening you and all these things, and we're just going to wipe it off because they asked nicely, and that becomes a tough situation that I certainly want to defend our men and women as well. And so I just think getting to more clarity, less ambiguity around who can apply for it, what the rules are, and maybe outlining some ability. For example, Nanette Chandler came with the one on Cervantes Street. Well, she was taking a blighted house and turning 1 into 4, 1 into 5. Well, that's something we can defend, right? And she doesn't get the relief unless it happens. So if we can get into more situations like that, where we're taking a blighted property and improving it, adding more homes, adding more opportunity for housing, where it's a net benefit to the community, it's a little easier. But she's not looking to sell that. That would just be creating 4 affordable units. So we welcome those opportunities, right, to add something to the community. But the taxpayer should not be in the the enhancement of profit for house flipping business. I don't think that it should be that. It should be that you're adding something. Is it permanently affordable? Are you donating to land trust? There's probably be lots of ways where we could get behind it, but not in the circumstance that honestly comes to be most common. When I get a phone call about something like that, it's typically something that really puts us in that weird bind.
Mayor, yesterday we had the opening ceremonies for the WASZP games.
Yeah.
And we had, last year we had a couple of regattas. This one's different.
Yeah.
And talk a little bit about it.
Yeah. So again, I don't know what the final count was. Maybe it was 90 boats out there, 90 sailors from all over the world. And I always share, it's great in the small settings when you say, hey, raise your hand if you've never been here before. And a very small group raises their hand. That when these events are coming in, these are all people that probably couldn't pick us out on a map before this, and to get that type of exposure. And this is a world championship that's never been hosted in North America, period, never. And so the fact that that's in Pensacola not only is exciting for us, but I think it's just a sign of things to come. I think this will be yet the first of many firsts of these different regattas, these different style sailing boats, foiling vessels that are really honing in on the city of Pensacola and the opportunity that we provide here and the hospitality we provide here. And you can imagine I'm certainly grateful and feel blessed when these people that I've never met before come up and say, man, everybody has been so nice to us here, and everybody's been so hospitable, and the restaurants are great, and downtown's great, and the yacht club and everybody else. I mean, to get those glowing reviews, that's why I'm always a believer. Sorry for the football analogy, but the recruiting analogy, but when we get you on campus, we can usually you get the deal done. And I always feel that way about Pensacola, whether it's people investing in our city or visitors, that if we get you here, and you get our Pensacola hospitality, and you see what makes this place so amazing, I think everything else takes care of itself. So we're excited to have them, and we hope that this is an international event, a first in North America, and that we have more and more firsts to come.
Mayor, on the subject of blight, the old Ready Ice plant down here, Government Barrancas, looks
Yes.
like it's in the middle of a slow motion demo. Are they holding a demo permit? And if so, isn't there a limit in time it takes, they're allowed to leave it like it is, blighted?
I don't know. I'll obviously have to. I don't know off the top of my head of what they're. Yeah, that's all right. No, I'm happy to track that down for you. I do know many months back there was a conversation, and the reason we were aware of this is because with that DIG grant that we got for property acquisition for military housing. I know we've gone a different direction, but we were kind of looking at that Barrancas corridor, our economic development team. So I know we had come across that parcel. And at that time, there was a plan for some type of multifamily residential, nothing to do with the city of Pensacola, but whoever the property owners or investors were. And then I guess that didn't pan out. That's all I know about that parcel right now. So in terms of the actual demo permit and all that, we can get that to you. But generally speaking, yes, you can't. You don't get a demo permit in perpetuity, to your point. But when it was filed, how long they have, how they filed it, we'll track that down for you.
Mayor, on the meeting with FDOT about 14th and Gregory, you talking about you are going to discuss strategies. What kind of strategies would you look at there?
Well, obviously I'm going to be careful not to speak for FDOT other than just generally the feedback that we've been given. Where we're fully aligned is we all know that there's a problem. So that's the big hurdle. I mean, and that's not a guarantee, right? I mean, we may assess something as a traffic or public safety issue where another agency may not, right? And so we all agree that there's grounds for something to happen. Unfortunately, it's just a very complex and difficult intersection because of that little sliver of 14th Avenue from a pedestrian standpoint, from a biking standpoint. For example, if we were to only allow right turns southbound on 14th, meaning you'd come down, cross the train tracks, and you could only take a right going towards the Bay Center versus crossing, well, then you would have all of these crossings now at 12th Avenue, at 11th Avenue, all the traffic backup that has to go back to Chase to even get to where you could go normally. So it's not as clean as eliminating a lane, adding a speed bump. This is a very complex issue that involves a state road and city roads. And so that's really the genesis of saying, hey, let's all get in a room together. It isn't because we necessarily disagree, but the state's going to have a position about what the city road should be. The city's going to have a position about what the state road should be. And so I think it's just trying to get on the same page. So we all identify the problem. We all agree there is a problem that must be addressed. So that is hill number one. Hill number two is going to be how do we decide what those tactics are and what are we sacrificing in return for public safety? There's nothing more important. We can't have more injuries and deaths taking place as people fly off that bridge, right? So that is going to be number one. But what's left as the collateral damage to the improvement of public safety is what we need to agree on. And looking forward to that conversation with them.
So I assume is a stoplight there on the table, or is it in that southern part of 14?
I haven't heard one. So I will say one concession that we've already made was, and we had already had conversation, but given these numbers, it doesn't have anything to do with the impacts of Gregory necessarily, but we had advocated for a crosswalk at 14th and Bayfront on the south side there to get to the Sun Trail as part of the Sun Trail project. I've kind of conceded that away. That not because I necessarily want to, but I think that would be a little short-sighted considering the fact that if we see this as such a major problem for pedestrians, bicyclists, and vehicles, I don't know that encouraging people to then cross Gregory to get to Bayfront is probably the best idea. Say, hey, if you survive getting across Gregory, then here's a crosswalk for you. I don't know that that's necessarily the best idea. So, and then to your first part of your question, there has been no conversation about a light at this point. I don't want to, I'm not the expert. I'm not going to eliminate that or anything. But if you're asking me, has that come up so far? No, that hasn't come up so far. I think it's been more of ingress and egress as it pertains to 14th Avenue and Gregory Street. Who can do what? Do you block off an area? Do you only limit it to right turns in certain areas? I think that's really been the overall ecosystem of the back and forth to date. But again, looking forward to that conversation, and we're going to try to have the happy medium as best we can between 14th Avenue and 14th Avenue's use and Gregory. 110 TSA workers, and here approximately, and then just a number on closing the airport would be a loss of about $750,000 a week to the city, or to the airport, of course.
Mayor, one more thing.
Yeah.
The LDC is still going to the planning board, I guess,
Mhm.
next week, following. The
Yeah.
7th of April is the published date.
Yes, I believe so. Whatever's been out there before, I don't think it hasn't changed.
What is the expectations for the planning board on this go around? I mean, do they have to vote? Or, they've been to the workshops, I mean, most of them.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, certainly we're just going through the proper channels of any overarching change, as well as, and remember what the end deliverable is going to be from the LDC is several ordinance or code changes that would then come before council. So we might be spending lots of the back half of 2026, doing first and second reads on different changes and quasi judicials and all of it, depending on what we're asking for. As a matter of fact, one of the conversations that's been happening in City Hall is there are actually code enforcement recommendations that are within the LDC. So we're talking about, well, should we go ahead and fast track if we're going to be talking about all of these other lien forgiveness parts? Do we go ahead and fast track the feedback there and not just wait and have to redo it again? So it's pretty all encompassing. So I know that the end deliverable is going to be lots of conversations, probably every council meeting for a long period of time, going through those different things. But anything that's going to the planning board, my feeling would be either we can get you an exact timeline of the approvals you need, but I can certainly safely say, we're just making sure we're checking the boxes of the proper protocol to be able to get to that end deliverable, which would be our council members and our public giving input on the final vote of these things being put into policy.
The planning board is, at one, I think it was the last public workshop, there were 2 planning board members attended, and they put up on the board, does the city have any data? And I think stress test was the words that we used regarding these density revisions relating to effects on affordable housing.
Yeah.
And your consultant probably gave you a recommendation.
Yeah, well, what's funny is around the density issue is, there's bullets flying everywhere. We're overhauling a land development code for the first time since 1947. We also have policy coming from Tallahassee that's going to tell us what we can and can't do as well. And so again, I don't mean that sarcastically. I just mean there's lots of converging things happening in terms of trying to create density. Here's what I know. Let's just take Austin, Texas as an example. Austin, Texas, go look at their line chart of their average rents when they had that big explosion of growth. That's not what Pensacola is going to be or what Pensacola is going to look like, but I'm just a big believer in the fact that if you have more supply, that's going to be the most natural and most expedient way to start plateauing home rents, costs as a whole. If there's more houses to rent and there's a more competitive environment to be able to collect those rents, then naturally that's going to take place, whether it's at a market rate level or at an affordable level. So So yeah, I get what they're saying is, hey, can we have this finite test? That comes up in lots of projects to say, hey, show us where this has happened exactly in Pensacola. But that's why you bring in experts to do these LEDC reviews. They gather all of this information. They've conducted it. So I certainly rely upon the experts in our building and the experts that are helping us through this survey, through public engagement, that they've seen what has been effective and what hasn't been effective. And that I certainly don't plan on bringing anything forward that can't be proven that it would have some positive impact. Anything else? All right, guys, thank you so much. Appreciate it.